884651 or visit APO.com.
Woo-wee! Just take a gander at them tender and juicy fall-off-the-bone St. Louis ribs. Heavens to Betsy! What is their secret? It's bursting with so much flavor, I can eat them all day long. Come see for yourself, y'all. These fine slabs of hunky-dory, mouth-watering ribs are only available at Circle K. Circle K. Take it easy.
A judge sentences a Georgia man to a long term in prison for plotting to attack the White House and other targets.
Hasher Taheb will spend the next 15 years in prison and spend 3 more years of supervised release following his guilty plea in April to attempted destruction of government property by fire or explosive. Prosecutors say Taheb told undercover federal investigators in late 2018 that he planned to travel overseas and about his desire to attack the White House. He also expressed interest in attacking the Statue of Liberty, the Washington Monument, and Lincoln Memorial. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
The charred body of professional poker player Susie Zhao was found in a remote park near Detroit last week, and police are asking for the public's help to solve the mysterious death. Southwest and American Airlines cut back on flights as the surge of coronavirus cases pushes demand even lower. American said it was slowing some of its planned expansion, while Southwest is hoarding cash. A wreck-filled Kansas race sees a familiar face return to victory lane.
Denny Hamlin pulls off a drive for 5 at Kansas.
Because he knows that's who's getting him up front, giving him fast park. They've done it again. He's done it again. Kansas winner, Denny Hamlin.
Audio courtesy of NBC Sports. The number 11 Toyota pulling into victory lane for the 5th time this Cup Series season as Hamlin takes the checkered flag in the Superstart Batteries 400 at Kansas Speedway Thursday night. That's Hamlin's 3rd career win at the Tri-Oval. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
And deputies in California confirmed the home of talk show host Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, actress Portia de Rossi, was burglarized earlier this month. They say thieves got away with high-value jewelry from the home in Montecito on the 4th of July. And stocks closed lower as jobless claims edged up. The Dow fell 353 points. I'm Carmen Roberts. This is Fox News.
Everyone has a busy schedule these days, and sometimes we forget to schedule our routine dental checkup and cleaning. Don't neglect your dental health. Schedule one today with Dr. Robert Yang and his Smile team, conveniently located at the East West Business Center on Marine Drive, Upper Tumon. Call us today at 647-8702 or 3. Again, that's 647-8702 or 647-8703. We make smiles happen.
You've got a job to do. Having the right equipment for the job is critical, and East West Rental has the exact tools you need. Get it done faster with the right stuff, whether it's landscaping tools, concrete tools, lifts, trucks, lights, generators, trench boxes, welders, tents, tables, and chairs. They're here to help you tackle any project you're working on, big or small. Open Monday to Saturday, 7 to 5, closed Sundays. Find what you're looking for at East West Rental Center in Upper Tumon or call 646-1463.
Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro in Hagåtña is taking your local favorite dishes and serve them with extra flair. Mezcla is ready to serve you and your family for your dine-in experience and takeout services. To ensure everyone's safety and comfort, Team Mezcla has taken further steps in maintaining a clean and sanitized area for you and your family while dining in. For more information, please call 479-2652 or 479-2653. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro, a true taste of Guam.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific. Banking on the Pacific for 66 years. Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is also brought to you by Security Title, providing solutions for complex real estate transactions.
Welcome to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, the only show on talk radio where common sense is a lot more common. Phone lines are now open at 888-TALK. That's 888-8255. And now, The Point proudly brings you Tall Tales with Senator Bob Klitzkie.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You commented yesterday, Real Joe Cruz. You were looking for moxie.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We got more of that today.
Got a little more moxie today.
That one came right from the aorta, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, the Second Amendment, in fact, all of the Bill of Rights deserve a little bit of moxie as we thumb through them. We should resist the temptation to take them for granted because they really are momentous. They're actually something that had never been done before they were done in the United States of America. Rules, a set of rules to protect the citizens from its government. And it's one of the scant protections that we have from our government nowadays. So we ought to keep that in mind and be a little bit reverential when we think of the Bill of Rights and our United States Constitution, which underlie the great nation that we live in. Okay, let's go from as you were, from Second Amendment straight into Zemi Ikotny. So today we have Dr. Mita Shah, an assistant professor of emergency medicine at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, instead of the usual boilerplate that we get from USA Today and Gannett's News Service, run in the editorial pages of the Daily News as though we didn't know the difference between off-island boilerplate and a real local editorial. But she makes some good points here, so I think I'll read this anyhow. The title of the editorial is Kids Suffer Without School. Yeah, you think so? Try to tell that to a kid. This has probably been the greatest year to be a kid since the beginning of kindergarten way back in the 1800s. It's a never-ending summer vacation that started early. But this is what Dr. Shaw says. I'm a cautious physician, but also a mother. When the American Academy of Pediatrics released a statement last month advocating that all policies for the coming academic year should start with the goal of having kids physically back in schools, I did so with a disclaimer that this be done safely and that leaders must be flexible based on rapidly changing recommendations. The recommendations caused both relief and uproar and were clarified to state, quote, the decisions for early care and education, such as dismissals, event cancellations, other social distancing measures, should be made locally in collaboration with local health officials who can help determine the level of transmission in the community. As an emergency physician, the opening of society, particularly of schools that are, her choice of words, not mine, that are cesspools of germs. Hey, what a mental picture that creates.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. When does it start? It starts in September. Which cesspool of germs are you sending your kid to? Oh, I thought we'd send her to the academy. That's a pretty good cesspool of germs. She went to Bishop Baumgartner before that. Well, that's a pretty good cesspool of germs, too. Let's see, where was I here? It could make life more difficult if a wave of Wuhan virus infections ensues. Many of my colleagues would advocate for continued homeschooling. As a mother, however, I respect that childhood experts have highlighted that schools are fundamental to child development, social and emotional skills, mental health, food security, addressing racial and social inequity, and that the prolonged lack of physical schooling for large numbers of children could lead to long-term effects. Now, you know what, Real Joe Cruz? I went to school when I was a kid. Yeah.
You were a kid, sir, at one time?
Hard to believe. Yeah, it's been a long time
Yes, sir.
ago. You'd never know it from looking at me now, would you?
True, sir.
Yeah. So when people would say, Bobby, how do you like school? I'd say, school's okay. It's just the principle of the thing that I don't like. Where's that snare drum, Real Joe Cruz? Yeah, program starts at 4 o'clock, Real Joe Cruz. All
Sir,
right.
you never let school get in the way of your education.
That's right. I always wondered if school's real job was a sponsorship of ignorance. All right. She goes on to say, while I have been an advocate for shelter-in-place policies, physical distancing, masking, and careful reopening, I will not pretend that these things were easy in my home. Homeschooling came unnaturally and caused many tears all around. Yeah, I should have gotten a box of Kleenex before I started this one. We are not out of this yet. In the fall, I will closely monitor the number of cases in our area. And for now, I plan to send my children to school, a cesspool of germs, in the fall with masks or shields. But if we surge, we are prepared to bring them back home to learn virtually for everyone's sake. I certainly know that I will let my children grieve in whatever way they need whenever they need it. And as a parent, I will also allow myself to quietly grieve, too, for the loss of part of their childhood. Yeah. And that is so true, you know, when we're talking about homeschooling and virtual learning. And really what's happening is kids are losing an important part of their childhood. All kidding aside, I have great memories of my years in grade school and the friends that I made and the mischief that I created and the scoldings that I got from the teachers and all of those other things. Something, you know, this online thing. Online is great. I spend too much time on my iPad every day getting ready for this show. But there's an awful lot to be said with associating with other human beings, especially for kids. And I know that there are those who are saying that whatever harm the Wuhan virus caused our society, it will not be as great a harm as we caused ourselves by this tight shutdown that we subjected ourselves to. And I think probably I'm coming pretty much over to that point of view myself. Okay, so much for the daily news. On to the Post. Waiver of job search requirement should not last longer than necessary. Now that's a profound statement, isn't it? The taking of a medication for a sore throat should not last longer than necessary. The time that you spend in bed for sleep should not last longer than necessary. Right, Real Joe Cruz?
I agree, sir.
This is really a profound statement. So I'm going to give you a challenge, Real Joe Cruz. I would like you to name an activity that should last longer than necessary.
Inconceivable, sir.
It cannot be done, right? If it lasts longer than necessary, then it's obviously unnecessary, and it should have stopped at that point.
You're right, sir.
Yeah, well, here's the Post. Waiver of job search requirements should not last longer than necessary. What is it, facepalm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'd have never thought of that in a million years. Thousands of Guam residents who were receiving unemployment benefits from federal dollars on Wednesday got a reprieve from the requirement that they show proof they're actively looking for jobs. The job search requirement kicked in Monday when the government of Guam downgraded Wuhan virus restrictions to Pandemic Condition of Readiness 3. This condition of readiness allowed all businesses to reopen. On Wednesday, Governor Longuerro issued an executive order that suspended the job search requirement for displaced workers to continue receiving unemployment benefits. This move makes sense, at least for now, especially for hotel and restaurant workers and others whose skills are tied to our tourism industry, which continues to remain stalled. We do hope the job search waiver does not get extended indefinitely for displaced workers to receive federal or local government paid benefits. The unemployment benefits are already changing, with the weekly benefit of up to $945 getting drastically reduced to $345 after July 25. And at the end of the year, unless Congress provides for an extension of unemployment benefits, displaced Guam workers could no longer count on the unemployment checks to continue. In the long run, especially when tourism and hospitality jobs will start to bounce back, it's not okay for our community to discourage able-bodied adults from seeking employment. We shouldn't encourage an expanded welfare community by incentivizing people who can work to stay home and take advantage of systems in place for those who truly need government assistance. We urge that job search waivers or suspensions cannot be in perpetuity in light of the government of Guam's history with the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Nearly decades ago, when SNAP was simply called the Food Stamp Program, GovGuam sought a waiver from federal government so jobless Guamanians could continue to reap the benefits of the program even without meeting the required gainful employment. Through a number of past gubernatorial administrations, food stamp beneficiaries were allowed to receive a waiver from the work requirement. GovGuam sought such waiver from the federal government. The Trump administration sought to end waivers for able-bodied adults, and in December 2019 announced the final rule that would cut off SNAP benefits after 3 months of benefiting from the program. The new rule was to take effect on April 1, 2020. Public assistance safety nets are meant to provide help temporarily for adults who are unable to find employment. Our local government and we, members of this island community, must encourage those who are able to find work to seek employment as best they can. The youth need to see in us, the adults in our community, that we put a value in an honest day's work. Okay, I can't disagree with anything they say. There is an interesting article that I found in the Federalist report, and it's titled, "Report Finds Beefed Up Pandemic Unemployment's Benefits Rife with Fraud." A new study for the Foundation for Government Accountability, a Florida-based public policy think tank, found Congress recently beefed up unemployment insurance, which doles out an additional $600 a week on top of state benefits, ultimately corrupted claims and killed jobs. Ultimately corrupted claims and killed jobs. So I'm going to stop here for a minute. I remember when that $600 extra measure was discussed in the Congress, 4 senators put a hold on that temporarily and said, hey, wait a minute. If you add $600 to regular state unemployment, that means there will be people in the states who get more money from unemployment than they would if they were working. This is not going to work. But they were shouted down by the Democrats, and it went through the Senate anyhow. When it got to the House of Representatives, Nancy figured out a way that it could pass without having the people come in and actually vote on it. You might recall that. So what she did was she put it on. It was put on the unanimous consent calendar, and that way, when the vote came along, and if no one objected, then that $600 would pass. But a guy named, I think his name was Thomas Mazie, when it came time, said, "I object. We got to vote on this." And everybody was really angry at him. That means we have to come back to Washington. Can you imagine that, requiring members of the House of Representatives to actually come to Washington? Good thing we've got an Eighth Amendment in our Constitution that prohibits cruel and unusual punishment. So they really, really whitewashed this guy. Because he said, if we're going to do this, we got to vote on it. In other words, we got to be able to hang this on somebody when it goes wrong. Well, it's going wrong. The increased benefits, the FGA reports, incentivized wide unemployment fraud from able-bodied individuals who, when eligible to return to work, refused in order to continue collecting unemployment insurance, instead, where average benefits comes out to $1,000 a week nationwide, which is equivalent to about $50,000 annually. Such a deal, $50,000 a year, and you don't have to go to work. Sounds like the legislature. An April study with similar findings from the Conservative Heritage Foundation found that median full-time worker earning $48,000 a year would take home 15% more than their full-time gig, and concluded that the blow-up program likely inflated unemployment by nearly 14 million people. The new research from FGA builds on another report from the Department of Labor Inspector General in June, estimating waste, fraud, and abuse over the expended benefits from the Wuhan CARES Act reached more than $26 billion as international fraud rings have targeted swollen state programs. The $600 weekly unemployment bonus created by the CARES Act transformed the program into a gold mine for fraudsters. And on and on and on. I think you get the point. So, this goes back to one of the old tall tales rules of basic economics. If you want less of something, tax it. If you want more of something, subsidize it. So if you want more unemployment, subsidize it. Dish out unemployment benefits that are more than the person would make if he went back to work. So there we are. So, and the governor, of course, is playing right into this scam by saying, you don't have to go out and look for work. We'll continue on with that. And whether or not the 900 will be renewed by Congress is an open question. But even if it isn't, the idea behind unemployment is you get it if you don't have a job. But you got to go out and look for a job as part of getting the unemployment. It's kind of like Rory and his favorites down there at the port, the Port 7. Those people at the Port 7 that got their jobs back will get back pay for the pay that they didn't receive during their termination. But Rory has to deduct the amount those people earned in jobs outside the port during that period of time. It's called mitigation of damages. So this is a theme that's pretty constant. If you draw these benefits, you got to work. At least you got to look for work. So it's not a really edgy, hard-hitting editorial, but it does make a good point. So I'm going to give it the blue star again today. at least when the editorial writer wrote this one, they had their pronouns right.
Oh, yeah, they did, sir.
Yeah. They didn't have that. Every unemployment person has a duty to go out and find a job. They should not just, they didn't do that this time. So that's to their credit. Okay, so much for Demi Crotney. Let's see what we got on the card for today. I have I'm probably going to go back to Tom Kreis and versus the unwoke president of our university. I've got an item here called John Lewis helped win the Civil Rights War. Why are we still fighting it? But I'm going to save this until Monday. So I'm going to go into the regulars here, starting out with Janella. Troy versus Janella. Let's see, Janella is up to 65 days since Crystal Paco let her off the hook and said she didn't need to apologize for Janella-ing people at the governor's press conference. And Crystal Paco, also known as Crystal Paco San Augustine, said that she assured us that there'd be no more Janella-ing at these press conferences in the future. So it's been 65 days since then, and Janella has not Janella'd anyone. So I think that's pretty good. Can we give? No, we don't need to give Janella a hand. That's just her job. Right?
We'll give her one, but we'll mute it, sir.
Yeah, there you go. Good call, Real Joe Cruz. Let's see how it sounds. Yeah, good. That's it. You did it. Very good, Real Joe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good job, Real Joe Cruz. Okay, and then we've got Tina versus Emergency, and I guess we should all feel pretty safe because it's been 18 whole days since Tina detected something of an emergent nature that endangered the public safety or the health or public safety of the people of Guam to such a degree that she would have to call the legislature into special session and suspend public hearing requirements. So good job, Tina. Next, one of our regulars here is Senator Luis Borja Muña, who is going to be taken out of this treasured position as a permanent member on the card. I have a press release from Senator Luis Borja Muña. Senator Luis Borja Muña announced today that she would not be seeking another term in the Guam legislature. She must have that same calendar that Jim Moylan used when he decided to cancel the primary. There's no sense canceling the primary until you know who the candidates are, right? And there's no sense saying you're not running for re-election until your name appears on the ballot. Okay, we'll be back in just a minute here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch! That's just what we did with our new state-of-the-art mobile banking app as we celebrate 66 years of serving our island communities. It's loaded with a ton of new user-friendly features, including remote deposit capture. It's another way of saying you don't have to come to the bank to go to the bank. And if you want to come to the bank, we're happy to see your smiling face as long as you're wearing a mask. And we don't have long lines. Bank Pacific grows but branches, we place roots, and we're rooting for you. Member FDIC.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Talk Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Horizon Properties. Doing real estate since 1978. 14 years right here on Guam. Call Maria Miller from Horizon Properties at 777-7792.
We now return to Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie, soaring over the confusion with his superpowers of truth. Call 888-TALK. That's 888-8255.
Elect United Senator, after much consideration, I've decided not to move forward with my campaign. I know that there will be much speculation as to why the sudden change of heart. To put it simply, I have other opportunities that I would like to explore, and I feel now is the time, said Senator Muñoz. Senator Muñoz is at the tail end of her second term in the legislature. She has introduced numerous bills and blah, 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 little self-laudatory language here about all of the accomplishments of Senator Muñoz. But the key here is that Senator Muñoz is not going to be in the 36 Guam legislature. She is ending her campaign. I guess you'd have to say canceling her candidacy. However that goes. But, I've had a lot of fun here with Senator Muñoz, teased her unmercifully about her genuine mistake. Teased her a lot, just like I do with an awful lot of senatorial senators. But, that's kind of what you sign up for when you run for public office, to have talk show hosts tease you, make fun of you, etc. And it's part of the drill. There is another side, though, to being a candidate, and that's this. When I talking to people, someone who's never run for public office, and I almost said talking to someone who's never run for public office, and they say, I'm going to run for the legislature, I congratulate them. And I explain, I'm going to congratulate you now, although I know custom says I would congratulate you if you win. But I congratulate you now for throwing your hat into the ring. Win, lose, or draw, I take my hat off to you, because it's not easy to campaign for public office. It's not easy even if you win. And if you lose, obviously, it's even harder. And it's not easy to be in the public eye all that time. And I think this would be a good time to go back to something that not one of my favorite public figures, but one that everybody's familiar with, wrote. A gentleman named Theodore Roosevelt, better known as Teddy, the man in the arena. It's not the critic who counts. That's me. I'm the critic. It's not the critic who counts. Not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. And I'm guilty of that one too. The credit belongs to the man. Now, when we say man here, we really mean they, Real Joe Cruz.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Them, they.
Yeah. The credit belongs to them, who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. So today, Senator Luis Muñoz, you are the man in the arena. And as much fun as I've had with Luis Muñoz, Schadenfreude is not our style here on Tall Tales, Real Joe Cruz.
True, sir. True.
All right. So I've got Frenchie on. Frenchie's early today. Good afternoon, Frenchie.
Yeah, my dogs woke me on time. So anyhow, Yeah, I was going to talk about Senator Muñoz deciding not to run and how it's going to impact a proposal to end the emergency power for the governor. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
It's on the card, and I'll get to it.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I will wait for you to comment on that later. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was Michael St. Nicholas versus Robert Underwood. Basically the Maverick versus the establishment like 2 years ago. And wanted to take your take a little bit on what you see coming out of this conflict, which has been brewing basically since St. Nicholas defeated the old dinosaur that was in place before. So I'd like to hear a little bit about that from you, and also, you know, it's obvious Underwood had a lot of contradiction. You know, he likes to have the image of the champion of independence, yet at the same time he's the consummate insider. He spent basically his whole career getting a paycheck from Uncle Sam, either directly or indirectly, and being quite comfortable doing so. He's a failed candidate as governor, which I think has had a huge impact on him psychologically, because he's a very driven person to seize power. So I see a lot of contradiction in his running and that, except that he's part of the establishment. He has cultivated this image of elderly statesman, yet at the same time there is no one more toxic or more dangerous for the use of Guam that him as an individual. As you said yesterday, for 40 years he's pushed the division and anti-colonialism and everything while being very comfortable hiding in his jobs. But that doesn't stop the PDN, the PNC, KUAM, and of course the Guam Blog, because Guam Blog is very much in bed with the Guterres camp, and they probably think that they have enough old folks that will have good memories of Mr. Underwood, and if you had those voters with the pro-independence movement that has been building up and cultivating for 40 years, that he would have enough votes to kick out Michael St. Nicholas. And in a way, it's kind of the Candid News listeners versus the independence movement. It will be very interesting to see who would be coming out the winner out of this. And of course, I'm sure that you had you mentioned the other day what's his name, Ron McNitch, who has been very much against the primaries and everything, and basically was saying that he thought Robert Underwood has the best chance to win. And so you have basically the whole political establishment on the Democratic side running against the maverick Democrat, if it's not an oxymoron in itself, because Democrats usually is the party of the mob mentality. So it's kind of interesting, and I wanted to hear your feedback on that, since you have a lot of inside information on how politics works on Guam. So.
Well, starting out with Michael St. Nicholas, he is indeed a maverick. You'll recall that Michael St. Nicholas did not sign the Unity Pledge with the Democrat Party.
Yes, I remember, yeah.
So he kind of started out as a trumper, not going along with the established rules, not playing the game that everyone thought he. And I suspect that a lot of Democrats have not forgiven him of that yet. When it came to the relocation of the Marines, when St. Nicholas was still in the legislature, he introduced a resolution that basically said, "We want the Marines to come to Guam. Welcome. Please come."
Yeah. I remember that too.
When the Finogi group was complaining that some people in public life had not come out in favor of Chamorro self-determination, as though this were an unpardonable sin. When they asked San Nicolas said, "I think everybody should vote." So.
So yeah, he didn't make friends with that group.
No, so this was not the right answer for them. That just it wasn't what they expected. So he's different from what is expected. Now, some of the things that I detect are St. Nicholas is a little on the wild side, but he doesn't go along and play the game that all of us despise. So that's regardless of what it is that he does, at least he's not doing that.
Yeah, and he's also brought the bacon back to the island. I mean, despite everything the governor and everybody else has tried to portray that they were the ones doing it, I think he was very successful in bringing the bacon back on Guam.
Well, here's a huge chunk of bacon. This morning, the Senate passed the National Defense Authorization Act without touching the provision that was added in the House that would allow H-2B workers to be employed on Guam, the only place in the United States in that respect. This is a huge win for us. This is perhaps the only good news that we've had with respect to our disabled economy, because it'll mean that construction can start up. So that's a huge chunk of bacon. San Nicolas also is, again, I guess it's not a good word here, iconoclastic, because he's just not going along with the things that the Democrats would expect, which I think enamors him to Republicans and a lot of Democrats, especially the younger Democrats, who are probably saying, Robert, you've been there for 10 years, you've been president of the university. Isn't it time that you stay home and play with your grandchildren?
Yeah, I think you're right on that, yeah.
And let somebody else have a chance. Let some younger folks come forward. So that's San Nicolas. On Robert's side, Robert is a separatist, and he's made his bones being a separatist. And I, for one, am not comfortable in having a separatist representing us in the U.S. Congress. Would he introduce a bill in the Congress for the authority for the United States to make Guam independent, or would he go in those directions?
Yeah, I think also who is going to win in D.C. the House in November will be very important, because if the Dems stay in power in the House or win any of the other two elections, then we will have a pro-independence guy, if Underwood wins, that will be going in bed with the AOC of this world and the Ilhan Omar of the Congress, and that could be very toxic for Guam.
So you're hypothesizing that the Squad could add a fifth member.
Or maybe a sixth or seventh, yeah, you never know. I'm very worried about that, and I think it's a reality that should not be ignored when we vote for delegate.
So that's Robert's downside. His upside, so to speak, is he's a very intelligent guy. He's scholarly. He has had a lot of experience. He wouldn't have to have any on-the-job training if he went back to Congress. He knows what he's doing. He has said, I've heard him say, that not having a vote in Congress doesn't necessarily severely disable someone that can work on relationships.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, at the same time, he has his minions saying that we don't have any power because we don't have a voting member.
That's true. That's true.
It's the dichotomy. They say one thing on one side and something on the other side, which is kind of
But for me, the litmus here the litmus test is the attitude on separation and the military. If you're anti-military and pro-separation, the chances of getting my vote don't even rise to the level of slim and none.
Yeah, and I think you're not the only one on the island thinking that way. I know I've met several people over the last few weeks that are telling me the exact same thing. So really, it's going to be interesting to see this fight to, well, I guess we have to wait the end of August, right? The primary.
Right.
And because it's quite interesting. Candid News is really put their side on the side of MSN and the younger people, and then of course you cannot underestimate the independence movement because they are well organized. They can turn out the vote, and I think that's what Underwood has been very good at doing, is to create a key constituency that can tip the balance one way or another during elections. That's why so many people are scared of them and kowtow to those sometimes crazy demands, which St. Nicholas has not done, to his credit.
True enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your explaining of all those things. I think, well, it's going to be an interesting race.
True enough, Francie. Thanks for calling.
Well, you're welcome, and you have a great weekend.
See you later.
At the mall, as you enjoy shopping, dining, or entertainment, you could also win 3 great cars from Atkins Kroll and thousands of prizes in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game. Present your mall receipts and have a chance to win the 3rd car, the head-turning Lexus ES350 Luxury. Getaways to Manila, courtesy of Philippine Airlines. Plus, prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. Virtual drawing date 10 a.m. August 22nd. Watch live on Micronesia Mall Facebook. Play and win in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game.
If you've ever struggled for breath, you know what a scary experience it is. Whether you have asthma, emphysema, COPD, lung cancer, or another respiratory illness, the right medical treatment makes all the difference. GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic has the latest technology and respiratory equipment, staffed by world-class pulmonologists. Make an appointment today with GRMC's Pulmonology Clinic and start breathing easier. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro. They're open in Agotnia, ready for dine-in, takeout, and delivery services from Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Call them now, 479-2652, and get your Mezcla fix today.
You know, Real Joe Cruz, it was interesting that Frenchie said to have a nice weekend, and I expect that that wish extends to you also, to have a nice weekend.
Oh, yeah, sir.
I guess people just can't appreciate the kind of suffering that you and I go through from Friday afternoon till Monday afternoon, huh?
That's true, sir.
Yeah.
But we are good at it. We're good at suffering.
Yeah. And I suppose it only makes the reward of continuing Tall Tales on Monday all the more rewarding because we know we've suffered so much to get there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to do it again. You know, another hour and 10 minutes is going to be no more Tall Tales again. We'll tough it out. Okay, yesterday I left off with Tello versus Ray Topaznia. And background, Ray Topaznia filed an ethics complaint against Tello for statements she made during a hearing in May. And I'm going to go straight to those statements. The hearing took place on May 19. Gura board nominee Anisha Dalia was taking questions from lawmakers. Taitigui asked if Dalia was aware that Topaznia had sued the Gura board, to which Dalia responded she was not. Tello said, quote, "I'm saying this as a friend. I suggest you look into that. Because if you do become a member of this board, and if you're going to be part of a lawsuit, then you might rethink that. I hope that you do read up what has been going on at Gura in the last year and a half before you make this decision," Taitigui said during the hearing. So earlier in this article, let's see, it says, a complaint made to Senators Joe San Augustine and William Castro, the chairman and vice chairman of the Ethics Committee, respectively, states that Taitigui made defamatory remarks about his character. Okay, defamatory remarks. Since it's oral, it would be slander, okay? So how did Tello slander Topaznia during that hearing? Did she say something about him that was untrue, that went to, in this particular case, his ability to carry out his occupation, to do his job, etc., or that he was a criminal or had been convicted of a crime? And there are a couple of other things that really don't get into this, but that's the kind of thing that you have to say in order to slander someone else. You can't come along and say at the confirmation of the real Joe Cruz to run KAT, or what is it, KTGB? Yeah, the television station, real Joe Cruz is full of prunes. You could say that, but that's not slanderous. And, of course, no one would believe it anyhow. Or you could say, real Joe Cruz is darkness. Therefore, he should not be confirmed. That would be true also, but it's not slanderous. So, first of all, in order to be slandered, it has to be untruthful. And then second, it has to be something that puts a person in a seriously false light, in a derogatory position. And as I mentioned yesterday, truth is a complete defense to libel or slander. So if I said something like Bugs Moran is a bank robber, and Bugs Moran sued me, I would just show his convictions for bank robbery, case dismissed. You know what Bugs Moran said when they asked him why he robbed banks, real Joe Cruz?
No, sir.
He said, "I robbed banks because that's where the money is." Yeah. So let's examine now what Tello said about Ray Topaznia. Was it true, and did it put him in a false light? Let's see. If you were going, let's see here. Taitigui asked Delia if Delia was aware that Topaznia had sued the Gura board. Did Topaznia ever sue the Gura board? Yes, he did. On a wrongful termination suit. So that's true. And the mere fact that you sue somebody doesn't make you a bad person. Even if you hadn't, it doesn't make you a bad person. And then Taitigui said, "I suggest you look into that, because if you do become a member of this board, and if you are going to be part of a lawsuit, then you might rethink that." So here's how it works. If one is going to sue part of the government, one of the ways that you do it, if it's at one of the autonomous agencies governed by a board or commission, you bring suit against the named members of the board in their official capacity, not in their personal capacity. That's how the court brings that board before the court. Now, if the newspapers were do it, you could just sue you could just sue the Department of Administration as though it were an actual legal being, right? So you sue the members of the board in their official capacity. And when one of the members of a board, in one of those boards after it's been sued, when one of the members is replaced or dies or something like that, then the complaint is amended to show the new board members as the defendants in the suit. So the old board members have somewhat been replaced by new board members who are nominal defendants in the suit. Nominal means their name is there, but since it's against them in their official capacity, it's not going to cost them any money, etc. This came up not too long ago when a certain Joseph Cameron was appointed to the Gura Board of Commissioners. And after he was appointed, he found out that he had, because he was on the Board of Commissioners at Gura, he was now a named defendant in Tapasnia versus blah, blah, blah in Gura, right? And he said, I'm not in for that. I don't want to be sued. I'm out of here. And he quit. Well, it's a free country, you know, and if he wanted to quit, fine, but that's not a very good reason to quit for the reasons that I just explained. So if D'Elia does become a confirmed member of the... Okay, I'm going to come back here to Gura right after the big halftime show that we've been looking forward to.
The Point is KUSG, Hagåtña, Guam, 93.3 FM and 104.3 HD3.
The coronavirus and the convention. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
Setting the example is very important.
The surge in coronavirus cases in Florida upends plans for the GOP National Convention in Jacksonville. President Trump explains during the daily White House coronavirus press briefing he's canceling those plans.
I just felt it was wrong, Steve, to have people going to what turned out to be a hot spot. You know, when we chose it, it was not at all hot. It was free. And all of a sudden, it happened quickly. It happens quickly, and it goes away, and it goes away quickly. The key is we wanted to go away without a lot of death.
The GOP will hold some official events in Charlotte, North Carolina. Even as coronavirus cases surge above 4 million in the U.S., the president is not letting up on his push for schools to reopen this fall. This as the CDC releases tools to help those schools.
The latest CDC guidance says that COVID-19 death rates among school-aged children are much lower than among adults. The agency also said that the in-person school environment provides educational instruction, supports the development of social and emotional skills, creates a safe environment for learning, addresses nutritional needs, and facilitates physical activity.
Fox's Kevin Cork. The president, however, acknowledges some states may have to delay their school reopenings by a few weeks. As for the virus, a Reuters tally shows U.S. cases rose by at least 66,000 yesterday, and deaths topped 1,100. The number of people filing for first-time unemployment claims rose last week for the first time in nearly 4 months, a sign the jobs recovery may be faltering. Claims coming in at 1.4 million as some states order businesses to shut again, and more Americans stay home and spend less money. America's listening to Fox News.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer staycation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,900 by calling Family Finance. Agana 475-4545, Upper Tumon at 647-5626, or in Dededo at 633-4473. Family Finance, serving the people of Guam since 1959.
Woo, woo, wee! Just take a gander at them tender and juicy fall-off-the-bone St. Louis ribs. Heavens to Betsy! What is their secret? It's bursting with so much flavor, I can eat them all day long. Come see for yourself, y'all. These fine slabs of hunky-dory, mouth-watering ribs are only available at Circle K. Circle K. Take it easy.
The takedown of historical figures rolls on amid Black Lives Matter protest. In Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot reportedly plans to remove the statue of Christopher Columbus from Grant Park this morning. And other statues are going by the wayside in D.C.
While Mitch McConnell was attacking the so-called cancel culture on the Senate floor Wednesday, the House was debating whether to remove 16 statues, including the bust of Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger Taney, a Democrat and author of the 1857 Dred Scott decision that denied African Americans citizenship. On Tuesday, Planned Parenthood removed the name of its founder, Margaret Sanger, from its New York City clinic. Sanger advocated for sterilization to stop the reproduction of, quote, inferior people. A similar canceling for John Muir, the father of national parks. He founded the Sierra Club, which announced it's ending its association with Muir, describing him as a, quote, white supremacist who drew on deeply harmful racial stereotypes.
Fox's Doug McElway. Skyrocketing cases of the coronavirus hitting Hollywood and its movie plans.
Mulan is not premiering in August. Disney Studios has set aside the live-action film for the time being, and they are not saying when the anticipated film will hit theaters, also being pushed due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic.
You're on Pandora.
All Avatar sequels and Star Wars movies have been pushed by a year. However, several films are remaining on the schedule. They include New Mutants and the personal history of David Copperfield. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says there's enough scientific evidence that 2 rare plants in Nevada's desert could go extinct to warrant a year-long review of whether to list them as endangered species. They are Times buckwheat and the Las Vegas bear poppy. I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
Hofity, this is Kayla from APL Guam. Here at APL, our expertise and extensive network can help you grow your business and reach out to more markets. As a responsible carrier, APL is also committed to a sustainable future, whether it's protecting the environment or investing our efforts in giving back to the community. Our dedicated team in Guam and the U.S. mainland are here to support you. Call 588-4651 or visit apl.com.
Wow, nice smile. So perfect and all.
Thanks. I owe it all to Dr. Robert Yang and his smile team. They do wonders for a healthy, happy mouth.
Got teeth? Don't wait until they hurt. Schedule your routine checkup and cleaning with Dr. Yang and his smile team. Suite 119 in the East-West Business Center, Upper Tumon. Call 647-8702 or 3.
The best thing that happened to teeth since toothpaste.
Dr. Yang and his smile team.
They make smiles happen.
Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro in Hagåtña is taking your local favorite dishes and serve them with extra flair. Mezcla is ready to serve you and your family for your dine-in experience and takeout services. To ensure everyone's safety and comfort, Team Mezcla has taken further steps in maintaining a clean and sanitized area for you and your family while dining in. For more information, please call 479-2652 or 479-2653. Mezcla Chamorro Fusion Bistro, a true taste of Guam.
Talk Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific. Banking on the Pacific for 66 years.
That is so inspiring, Real Joe Cruz.
Every day, sir.
It is so inspiring. Okay, so we wrapped up the first half of Tall Tales with that big show that we put on every afternoon at 1700. We are now in the second half of Tall Tales. I go back to the legislature and Tello versus Topaznia. And I've been parsing the things that Topaznia took issue with, because Tello reminded Delia that Topaznia had sued the Gura board previously, and that Tello says, I hope you read up on what's been going on at Gura in the last year and a half before you make this decision. Well, I think Delia had probably already made the decision. Because I think probably the way it works is that someone in the governor's office said, is responsible for drumming up people for the boards and commissions, gets approval from the governor or the lieutenant governor or the head custodian or whoever it is that weighs in on these decisions, then calls the putative appointee and says, the governor would like to appoint you to the Gura Board of Commissioners. Are you interested? And if the person says, nope, the end of the story. If the person says, yeah, I'd like to do that, then the next thing is, well, come over to the governor's office. We've got some papers for you to fill out and some things to sign, etc. And the governor wants me to thank you for your willingness to serve. Papers are filled out, signed, etc. Governor sends a transmittal over to legislature saying, I appointed Anisha Delia to the Board of Commissioners at Gura. This goes to the committee that has jurisdiction, which in this case was Senator Joe San Augustine. No, wait a minute, he's ethics. I don't know who was the chairman of this committee. Goes to the chairman of the committee. He looks through the papers, they look through the papers and circulate it to the other members of the committee, and a decision is made as to when a confirmation hearing should be held for that appointee, if ever. So a hearing is scheduled. The nominee is notified. Public notice goes out. The nominee shows up. Members can ask that nominee questions relating to the appointment, all of them proceeding on the basis that the appointee has already decided that they want to be on the Gura Board of Commissioners. So what does Taitigui mean when she says, I hope you read up on what's been going on at Gura in the last year and a half before you make this decision? So is Taitigui proceeding on the basis that after becoming aware of the situation, Delia might not want to serve? In other words, is Taitigui trying to persuade Delia not to serve on the Board of Commissioners? I would think that's a little bit off the wall for a senator to do, to try to persuade a nominee. Well, I don't know. That boardroom is really small. And I know a couple of those commissioners, and B.O. So I don't know if you want to subject yourself to that or not. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable in that small room. And the meetings are you want to really think that, no, that's not what senators do. They try to determine whether or not the person would be a fit candidate for that position, not discourage the person from taking a seat on that commission. The fact that Topaznia sued anybody does not mean that he is a bad person. One of the benefits of living in a free country governed by the rule of law is that a person can sue another person if the suer has a claim that an attorney would advance, and Terpaznia sued for wrongful termination. That does not make him a bad person. That is not a reason not to be on the Gura Board of Commissioners. So, wrapping this all up, what Taitigui said about Terpaznia is not slanderous. It's not defamatory. It's just really stupid. But I don't think that the rules of ethics of the legislature allow a citizen to file a complaint with the Ethics Commission that what a senator did was really stupid, because that's what this is. It's not defamatory. It's just stupid. What was Tello trying to do by persuading D'Elia not to sit on that Board of Commissioners? And if Terpaznia had sued the Board of Commissioners during the last administration, she ought to understand what I just said about commissioners being nominal defendants in lawsuits against government agencies. That should not discourage anyone from serving on one of those boards or commissions. So I characterized this yesterday as much ado over nothing. I would stick Terpaznia with having, Terpaznia perhaps needs a good dermatologist. I don't know how they do it, but perhaps there's some kind of vitamins that will toughen the skin, because people in public life are not served well by thin skins, real Joe Cruz.
This is true.
Yeah. And I would also hope that someone counseled Tello that ordinarily we don't expect senators to discourage people from serving on boards and commissions when they come in for confirmation hearings. Okay, so much for that item on the card. Next, I'm going to go national here for a minute, and this is called Captain Hook versus Hippocrates. Real Joe Cruz, do you know who Hippocrates was?
A philosopher, sir.
Yeah, sort of.
What do I mean Socrates?
That was Socrates. Yeah, Socrates only had one fault. He wasn't too particular about what he drank, but that's another story. Hippocrates was an ethicist and a doctor, and he came out with the Hippocratic Oath, the standard of ethics that doctors are supposed to adhere to. I don't know the whole thing, but I know that the first item in the Hippocratic Oath is, first of all, do no harm. Okay. Now, maybe this is a little easier. Do you know who Captain Hook was?
Aye, arr.
Yeah. Captain James Hook is a fictional character, the main antagonist in J.M. Barrie's 1904 play Peter Pan, in which he is Hook is Peter Pan's arch enemy. The character is a pirate captain of the brig Jolly Roger. His two principal fears are the sight of his own blood and the crocodile who pursues him after eating the hand cut off by Peter Pan. An iron hook replaced the severed hand, which gave the pirate his name, Captain Hook. So instead of having a hand, he had an iron hook. You've probably seen pictures of that, real Joe Cruz. Okay, so you're going to have to use your imagination here as I set the stage to get into an actually serious subject. Use your imagination. Let's assume that you don't even need much of an imagination here. Assume that I really like Jeff's Pirates Cove, and I do. It's a great place to go for a cold libation, for a snack, just to look at the ocean. Great place. It's always been a great place. Jeff has worked wonders with it. And let's also assume that I really like Jeff. And again, that's a pretty easy one. Now, let's assume that I wanted to stop being the host of Tall Tales. Oh, this is tough. This one takes a lot of imagination. And that I wanted to go to work for Jeff at Pirates Cove. Now, if you've seen Jeff at Pirates Cove, he affects the pirate look. He's got a bandana wrapped around his head. Sometimes he's got like an eye patch. And it doesn't make any difference what you say to him when you walk in. His response is always the same, which is...
Shiver me timbers.
Close.
Arr.
There you go, yeah. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Arr. So I thought in order to get a job at Jeff's Pirates Cove, I've got to get in character. So I thought I would present myself as Captain Hook. So if I went to, say, Dr. Fagotgood, who's a surgeon here, and I said, Dr. Fagotgood, I'd like to have you cut my arm off about 6 inches above the hand. Why in the heck would you want to do that? Well, I want to put this hook on it because I want to present myself as Captain Hook at Pirates Cove. What do you think Dr. Fagotgood would say? He'd say, I'm not going to do surgery on you. I will refer you to a psychiatrist, however, because I think you're nuts. And upon further probing, he'd say, we don't cut off. We don't cut off fully functioning parts of the body that are healthy. That would be against the Hippocratic Oath. Okay? Now, I have an article here from PJ Media, as mixing some metaphors here, as predicted, the chickens of Gorsuch's horrible transgender decision come home to roost. When Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch redefined sex in federal law, twisting federal bans on sex discrimination to include discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and transgender identity, his colleague Samuel Alito rightly warned that the decision would wreak havoc on the healthcare industry. Almost exactly 1 month later, the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, an organization that I used to have great respect for before it just became an arm of the Democrat Party, the ACLU filed a lawsuit to force a Roman Catholic hospital to perform transgender surgery in violation of the Hippocratic Oath, citing none other than Gorsuch's opinion. In Hammonds versus University of Maryland Medical System, a biological female who identifies as a transgender man. So someone who was born as a female, let's call her a double X, who identifies as a transgender man, Jesse Hammonds, claims St. Joseph Medical Center, a hospital operated by University of Maryland Medical Systems, unlawfully discriminated against her. Or is it? Well, no, wait a minute. Now it's the right word. I would say against. I would say against her. But if Mr. Hammonds were here, he'd say, "You can't call me her. It's him." So here, the correct word is them. Right, Real Joe Cruz?
Yes, sir.
This is the benefit of that third person plural, because it takes into consideration gender dysphoria, non-binary people, and all of this magic that we've all just stumbled upon in about the last 10 years. So they're saying that the medical center unlawfully discriminated against them by refusing to perform a hysterectomy to remove a healthy uterus. Now you see why we went to Pirates Cove? The lawsuit would force Catholic hospitals to violate the Hippocratic Oath by removing a fully functional organ and permanently sterilizing patients. And, well, let me go on here a little bit, and then I'm going to come back to my own take on this. Under the ethical and religious directives for Catholic healthcare services established by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, Catholic hospitals may not perform procedures that induce sterility unless their direct effect is the cure or alleviation of present and serious pathology, and a similar treatment is not available. In other words, Catholics don't believe in sterilization. St. Joseph Hospital does perform hysterectomies in order to treat serious medical conditions that require such a drastic surgery, such as uterine fibroids, endometriosis, pelvic support problems, abnormal uterine bleeding, chronic pelvic pain, and gynecological cancer. Does any of this sound like anything you've ever had? No.
No, sir.
I didn't think so. Just thought I'd check. According to Hammonds and the ACLU, Hammond's gender dysphoria, identifying with the gender opposite one's birth sex, is a serious condition requiring hysterectomy. The lawsuit refers to the hysterectomy as a medically necessary treatment relating to his diagnosis of gender dysphoria. The hospital had scheduled the surgery for plaintiff on January 6th, but canceled the surgery because it would violate the Hippocratic Oath. The lawsuit claims that canceling surgery involved discrimination on the basis of sex in violation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Since UMMS operates St. Joseph as a Catholic hospital, the lawsuit also claims that the alleged discrimination violated the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. The key point at issue revolves around whether or not transgender surgery, in this case hysterectomy, is medically necessary or actively harmful. While many medical establishments have rushed to embrace the transgender bandwagon, many formerly transgender people have rejected their transgender identities and lamented the horrific results of, quote, gender affirmation surgery. One 19-year-old man who temporarily identified as a woman and had surgery to remove his male genitals. You see why I went into that thing about Pirates Cove, real Joe Cruz?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For me, it was just my arm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And replace them with a simulated female version. And he described the result as a Frankenstein hack job. Wow. So I'm going to stop here, and I think that pretty clearly identifies the issues. You start out with Catholic faith, no sterilization for Catholics, okay? But let's back away from that. And this, of course, is the only defense that this medical center has in the face of complete stupidity. And one of the things that I rant about a little bit on this program is that this idea that you can be forced to pretend that something is true when you know it's not true, either sometimes by the law, by social pressure, by the desire to hold everyone to the standard of political correctness, is just wrong. And I would like to see that people could say, no, I'm not going to do that, not because it's against my religion, but because it's just stupid. You know, just like Dr. Fagergood would not cut my arm off. And Dr. Fagergood would not say, you know, I belong to the Hand of God Church, and it's against our religious tenets to cut off anybody's. He doesn't need to say that. All he needs to say is, we don't cut off functional parts of a healthy body, ever. I don't care how badly you want to work at Just Pirates Cove. I'm not going to cut your arm off. It's stupid. That's the way I think it should be. That people shouldn't have to do things, shouldn't have to rely on religion. Now, of course, the religion thing is very important because, as we all know, we all have a right to free exercise of religion. So doctors certainly, within the tenets of their religion, shouldn't be asked to do something, shouldn't be forced to do something that's against the tenets of their religion, sterilizing someone who's perfectly healthy. But it would seem to me that in a rational country, we wouldn't even need to reach for the religion card. That as citizens, under the rule of law, we ought to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that. It's stupid. I will not engage in the sponsorship of ignorance. Go somewhere else. Maybe you can find someone else to cut your arm off and turn you into Captain Hook. Or go somewhere else and find someone else who will do a hysterectomy on you so that you could pretend that you're a man and not a woman. But I'm not going to get engaged in forced pretending. Don't ask me to. That's where we ought to be, but boy, we're really, really drifting. And I was really disappointed when Gorsuch reached the result that he did, saying that he was a textualist. And I suspect that if we could hook up some kind of a belt and pulley to Mr. Justice Scalia, wherever he is, may he rest in peace, that he is spinning so fast, turning over so fast in his grave, that if you hook that belt to a generator, he'd generate enough electricity to light half of Guam. Okay, let's take a short break here for the seventh inning stretch.
Are you fed up with those long bank lines? Do you wish you had a bank who gave you faster service? Well, by enrolling in Bank Pacific's new mobile app, you don't even need to wait in line. But even if you do want to come down in person, we're more than happy to see your smiling face, as long as you have a mask. Because our service is so good, we don't believe in lines. Because for 66 years, we've been making sure you get the service you deserve. Because where others put branches, we place roots. And we're rooting for you. Member FDIC.
At the mall, as you enjoy shopping, dining, or entertainment, you could also win 3 great cars from Atkins Kroll and thousands of prizes in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game. Present your mall receipts and have a chance to win the 3rd car, the head-turning Lexus ES350 Luxury. Getaways to Manila, courtesy of Philippine Airlines. Plus, prizes from Foot Locker and Burger King. Virtual drawing date 10 a.m. August 22nd. Watch live on Micronesia Mall Facebook. Play and win in Micronesia Mall's Cars, Prizes, and Getaways game.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Horizon Properties, doing real estate since 1978, 14 years here on Guam. Call Maria Miller from Horizon Properties at 777-7792.
Wrigley Field, Chicago, 7th inning stretch, and back to the historic studio of The Point right here in Upper Tumum. And I was just wrapping up here with Captain Hook versus hypocrisy, stating that it seems that in a rational world, rational people should not be asked to do stupid things. That's what we used to kind of mean when we said that America is a free country. But now we've gotten to the point with guys like Gorsuch on the Supreme Court that a Catholic hospital has to defend itself in a lawsuit as to why it will not remove a healthy uterus in a hysterectomy from a healthy woman because the woman really wants to be a man. And that case, they'll probably lose that case because of Gorsuch's decision in, what was the name of that case? The Bostock versus Clayton County case. Now, I said before we started on the break, I'm so disappointed in Gorsuch. He claims to be a textualist or an originalist. I was around in 1965 when the Civil Rights Act passed. We didn't know what a tranny was in those days. Well, actually, we did. I had one in my car. I had
True, sir.
Yeah.
Standard?
I had a tranny in my car. Yeah. Yeah, back in those days, you wouldn't be caught dead with a car with an automatic transmission, right? Unless you had to borrow your mother's car for something, right? So, and a lot of guys would even swap out trannies to get your standard tranny had 3 speeds. They'd swap it out for a 4-speed or a 5-speed. That's what a tranny was in those days. So he didn't have to worry about taking a tranny to the school dance or something like that. But no one ever thought that the law would change so that if someone who was an XX, a female, wanted to dress like a man and pretend that he was a man, that he could get the whole legal establishment jumping through hoops for him or her or them. And that's where we are now. And Gorsuch has to take a lot of the blame. But this ties in with my basic criticism of the Supreme Court. You've heard me say that the Supreme Court is the upperest branch of Congress. We have 3 branches in our Congress. The lowest branch is the House of Representatives. And then we have the Senate. And then we have the Supreme Court, which is much more powerful than the 2 lower houses. Because the Supreme Court, the 9 on the Supreme Court in that branch, can overrule anything the other 2 do. Can overrule it, can rewrite it in its own way, and that upperest branch, if it feels like, can even amend the Constitution without going through the standard format of 3/4 of the states and ratification by 38 of the states. The 4 or 5 members on the Supreme Court can amend the U.S. Constitution. They can find a right of privacy in the Constitution that has escaped the eyes of everybody else for 200 years. Bad system. And while I'm at it, I'm going to be bipartisan. You know, people complain about the 2000 election. They say, well, in the 2000 election, Gore got the majority of the votes, but Bush won. Well, that's not correct, because Bush got the majority of the votes, not Gore. Gore only got 4 votes. Bush got 5. Bush is the president. So it's shenanigans like that really get me down on the Supreme Court, arrogating all that power to itself with no check on it at all. You can't vote them out of it's a totally undemocratic branch of government. You can't vote them out of power, and we're stuck here with Captain Hook versus hypocrisy probably forever. I don't see any easy way of getting out of it, getting out from under it. So anybody now who wants to pretend that he's the opposite of what he was, anyone who wants to pretend that they are the opposite of what they were when they were born, has the ability, apparently, to sue any hospital or doctor that refuses to perform the Frankensteinian surgery. This isn't what the founders had in mind when they created our country. 3 separate co-equal branches. Well, one of the branches is no longer co-equal, and it's sad because they're taking us the wrong direction. Vocabulary lesson, Real Joe Cruz. The word for today, crytarchy.
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 Okay, sir.
You know, like cry, except it starts with a K. Crytarchy, rule of judges, and that's where we are, crytarchy. And, of course, the left loves it because they know a lot of these scatterbrained schemes of theirs would never go through the democratic parts of our government, so they have better luck with the judiciary. Okay, we've got our Carl on the line. I wonder if our Carl has ever had a desire to work at Jeff's Pirates Cove. Have you ever thought about going to work at Jeff's Pirates Cove, our Carl?
Well, it's been one of my fantasies. It's right up there with becoming an our Carl. It's kind of it's on my bucket list.
Yeah, well, you made the big one, our Carl.
Yeah, it's kind of been disillusioning to me. You know, it's all downhill after being an our Carl.
Yeah, it's kind of like they say about Alexander the Great. He conquered the world. There was nothing left, so he committed suicide. There's no more challenges for him. I don't want you to do that, but I can see your frustration that you've reached the pinnacle. So you wouldn't be interested then in having your arm cut off so that you could be Captain Hook and go to work at Pirates Cove, huh?
No, not really. You know, at one time it was really not a big deal because, you know, if someone felt like a woman or it was a man that felt like a woman or a woman that felt like a man, they just, you know, did whatever they wanted to do to indulge those feelings, which is fine. You know, I don't care. It's no skin off my nose, you know, but the problem is that it's become progressively insistence and demand that we all go along, you know, with what is happening in someone's private life, and that is really concerning. Because you said, it's power. You know, the Supreme Court. I wanted to call in to give an illustration of how powerful the Supreme Court is and what the consequences are of their power. Since the passing of Roe v. Wade in 1973, there have been over 62 million potential young unborn Americans have had their lives terminated. 22 million of those have been future young black Americans. So the consequences for the decisions of the Supreme Court have life and death consequences. They are extremely powerful, probably the most powerful branch of the government, in my opinion, and you may agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, I don't know how we quite got to this point, but and I'm not sure what the way out is or if there is a way out, but we're just at a very precarious point in our history, and we're really reaping some of the things that have been sown by the Supreme Court. And it's very bitter fruit.
You know, going back to what you said a little earlier about it didn't used to be a problem if a man wanted to dress like a woman or vice versa. We had a vocabulary term for that. It was called transvestite. A transvestite is someone who dressed like the opposite sex. Back in the days when we could even figure out if there was an opposite sex. But my suspicion is that nowadays that if the plaintiff in that lawsuit were called a transvestite, he would take extreme umbrage to that. I'm not a transvestite. I'm a woman. I mean, I'm a man. I'm a transsexual man, but I am a man. So if a man wants to dress like a woman, you know, I break it down into three categories. I can tolerate it, you know. If that's what somebody wants to do, I could tolerate it. I don't accept it because it's unnatural. And I'm darn sure not going to celebrate it because I don't think it's an admirable undertaking for a person to dress up like a member, unless he's an actor or something like that, to dress up as a member of the opposite sex and try to pass themselves off that way. So I can tolerate it. I don't accept it. I darn sure don't celebrate it. But where are we now? We are being forced to celebrate it. And if you don't celebrate it, if a person doesn't celebrate it, the penalty is cancellation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gotten to that stage where it's no longer, you know, everybody lives their own life on their own terms, and as long as you don't bother me, I don't bother you. You know, everyone is, you know, it's okay. I don't care, but yeah, it's becoming increasingly hard to do that because laws are being enacted that are forcing us to
celebrate,
comply to certain things that we don't agree with. You know,
yeah.
And it's I don't know. We're just living in an increasingly it's a world that I no longer recognize. Anyway, Bob, I just wanted to weigh in on that about the power of the Supreme Court, especially about the unborn and the devastating consequences that's had. I think, and I think you would agree that it should have been sent to the states for each state to decide.
Well, it's not a matter of sending it to the states, Carl. That's where it was, and that's where it belongs, because the criminal law was always the province of the states. So before Roe came along, some states had allowed for abortion, some states criminalized it. That's the beauty of having 50 independent states. You know, you can each state can decide for itself. So it wasn't sent back to the states. That's where it was until Roe came along and took that criminal jurisdiction away from the states. A very anti-federalist decision. One more reason for me to refer to our government as the national government.
Yeah, and there's all this panic about, you know, that Republicans are trying to ban abortion, you know, but actually, you know, if it went back to the states and was decided there, abortion would still be available. It might not be, you know, as convenient. You might have to travel to a nearby state or something, but it would still be available, especially now since so many abortions have been done and we've become kind of numb to terminating the lives of the unborns. So it would still be, I have a suspicion it would be pretty widely available. But for some states that just didn't want to do it, you know, just like some doctors who are qualified to do abortions just choose not to, they can just not have it be legal in, you know, some states.
Well,
So
and never force a doctor to do it if he doesn't want to, which is, again, where we are with this, not only accepting but celebrating these things.
Yeah, yes, that's very true. Anyway, Bob, thank you for allowing me to weigh in. I appreciate it. Always a great show.
Okay, thanks for calling, another hour, Carl. Okay, so, boy, we're coming up on the home stretch. How do I know it's the home stretch? Well, I know it's the home stretch because Jack is calling, which means he's at the drive-thru at Wendy's to get his supper. His workday is over, and he's driving through the drive-thru at Wendy's, and he figured, well, as long as I'm in here, I might as well not make it a complete waste of time. I'll waste a little more time by calling. No, he didn't say that.
Woo-wee! Just take a gander at them tender and juicy fall-off-the-bone St. Louis ribs. Heavens to Betsy! What is their secret? It's bursting with so much flavor. I can eat them all day long. Come see for yourself, y'all. These fine slabs of hunky-dory, mouth-watering ribs are only available at Circle K. Circle K. Take it easy.
GRMC's cardiology department treats most complex heart problems. In our catheterization lab, cardiologists use imaging equipment to treat clogged arteries that can cause heart attacks or heart failure. We perform balloon angioplasty, stenting, and other life-saving cardiac procedures. If you suffer from a heart condition, have your provider refer you to GRMC's cardiology clinic at 645-5500. GRMC, where patients are partners.
Tall Tales with Bob Klitzkie is brought to you by Bank Pacific, banking on the Pacific for 66 years.
So here we are at the drive-thru at Wendy's. Would you like fries with that, sir?
Actually, I just got the burger today. I got the Baconator.
Okay. Large Coke or regular size?
No, I have my own drink. So.
Okay. Well, thank
yes.
you for eating at Wendy's, sir.
Well, anyways, Bob, I was calling, I was listening, and things like that, and I got some alerts through my email. I just wanted to verify with you. Did Louise Muna drop out of the race?
She did indeed, Jack.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know what happened there, but I don't know what to say. I think too much pressure.
I guess the only thing you can say is adios.
So, but her name will still be on the ballot, right? Because those are already printed out.
Yeah, well, when I read the release that she dropped out, I said she must have the same calendar that Jim Moylan has. Is about a week behind because Jim Moylan introduces a bill to cancel the primary, at least a week too late. She waits till her name is on the ballot and then decides to drop out. So I guess this legislature figures there's no sense in doing anything on time. Better to wait until too late.
Yeah. So also, when I was driving home, I heard you speaking about Senator Klitzkie and I guess Mr.
Ray Tapasny. Yeah,
Mr.
Ray Tapasny, huh?
Mr. Tapasny, yeah. And we were watching what was happening in Brett Kavanaugh, and I gotta say, whatever I was trying to see the hurt that happened to Mr. Tapasny. So I'm looking at it and saying, wait a second, what did his feelings get hurt? What happened? I don't understand what his ethics complaint is about. And isn't Klitzkie protected anyways because it was a hearing? Doesn't he have some sort of immunity that she could say?
The speech and debate clause holds that whatever a senator says in the legislature, she cannot be held responsible for anywhere else, but she can be held responsible for it in the legislature, to the point that she can even be expelled from the legislature if enough members decide that's what happened. But the final ruling, I don't know how close you were listening, Jack, was that she did not slander Ray Tapasny. Ray Tapasny needs to go to a dermatologist to have some skin thickening treatment.
Or grafting.
And that what Klitzkie did was not unethical. It was just very stupid. So
there's a lot of dumb things that's said during the legislature, but if we're going to hold them to a higher standard, I don't think there'll be anybody there. Higher standard than a second grader name calling another second grader. I don't think there'll be anybody left there. But I called also because I got another email alert. A day ago on the national front, the Congress, meaning the House of Representatives, passed a resolution 7573 condemning all statues of Confederates and anything that monuments, that these things have to be taken down. Well, today, a Republican, I don't know if you got this, a Republican from Texas, his name is Gobert, from the 1st District of Texas, introduced a resolution to ban the Democratic Party.
I think it was to tell the Democrat Party to change its name. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, or I got an email saying it was banned. I don't have his testimony in front of me, but it's on C-SPAN. So it's either to ban or to change their name.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander there. And I also heard you talking about the abortion aspect, and I think you're well aware that New York has chosen, New York City or New York State, as the Planned Parenthood. You heard about this, right?
They've canceled Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, it's these baby steps that we're winning. You know, it's this little battlegrounds. I know, in a large scale of things, more needs to be done. But I think, it's getting through. I think the message is getting through. I don't think it's a cancel culture that did this. I think it's just the blatant historical fact, what Margaret Sanger was.
Yeah.
What she did. And a lot of black Americans coming out, especially the preachers, the fathers and the moms, speaking about how abortion has decimated their community.
Our Carl was just on the line, and he said that 22 million black babies were aborted. So,
yeah,
I guess the slogan has to be amended: Black Lives Matter, if they can make it out of the mother, right?
But and also that most of these Planned Parenthoods are built in poor neighborhoods, within walking distance of these family homes and stuff like that. So, I for many years it's been a struggle, but these little things that happen, and then of course you mentioned the Gorsuch thing, and you think it's a setback, but we're just the old adage is just fight the good fight, and hope will prevail, and the good side will probably win, hopefully. A little bit of pessimistic, a little bit of optimistic, but it's Friday. It's a nice, cool day, and today's news is kind of a mixed bag, and as life is. But I also wanted to run a little joke I heard today down at the port. Do you know who Ike Pareto is?
Sure.
Yeah. So what? I'll ask you this. You have Ike Pareto and Mayor Blas of Jonia in a car. Who's driving?
Mayor Blas of Manilo. And who's driving?
No, Mayor Blas of Jonia.
Oh, okay, that Mayor Blas. Who's driving?
Yeah.
I give up, Jack.
GPD. Was that funny or what?
Very good,
I'm
Jack.
sorry. I just laughed.
Very good.
But anyways, Bob,
what you're supposed to do, Jack, you're supposed to send those to me so I can use them and get the laughs for them.
Okay, I will. I'll send all of them to you. But I just rolled out laughing. I had a pullover. But anyways, Bob, I want to wish you a great and safe weekend. And, sometimes I just like to be light on the topics, not too heavy. But this day, today it's sort of a mixed bag. And the news that is coming forth, I'm reading mostly, I'm just pissed off by Friday. But a little bit today, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news.
Well, for Real Joe Cruz and I, the fact that it's Friday is bad news, Jack, because we won't be able to do Tall Tales for 2 more days.
Yeah, but it allows us, the listeners, to catch up who weren't able to catch your shows during the weekend.
If not, I would like to help.
Okay, Bob.
Good talking to you, Jack. Have fun at Wendy's. We got to go on location with Jack again, right? Okay, so I got about 3 minutes to go here. So let me cruise through Facebook here and see what I got, if I got some interesting comments. James Howard was first instead of, what's her name, Wong? What's her first name?
Janice or Janice?
Janice
Wong.
Yeah, Janice Wong, who didn't show up today. I hope she's okay. Walter Gray Jr. is second. James Howard says, half a day, Judge Bob, and man who answers phones. Does that mean that he's trying to undercut your cult of personality, Real
Yes,
Joe
sir.
Cruz?
I do answer the phone.
Yeah. And then, let's see, I've got Lynn McAfee. Have friends who should see this video. Share it with them. No, wait a minute. That's not Lynn. That's part of the Facebook stuff. Lynn McAfee's there. Jill Pareda, hottie, Mr. Klitzkie and Real Joe. And replying to James Howard. Yes, yes, yes. Me slowly rubbing my hands. And then Frenchie, good afternoon, Guam. The Tall Tales International Posse, the Real Joe Cruz, and the one and only Bob Klitzkie. You know, I could sit around and read stuff like that all day long. And Lynn McAfee, Real Joe Cruz is Cerberus, the gatekeeper. Okay, so here we are. Commiserate with the Real Joe Cruz and I. We're out of here. We won't be back until 1600 on Monday. We'll tough it out, and we'll see you then.